Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the JK Experience. Hey buddy.
Hey man.
Dude, some good conversations today. I got you really uncomfortable today. I could totally tell.
Yeah, no, you I'm going to say this. I wasn't uncomfortable, but you challenged my thought process.
Yeah.
So how about that? Is that fair?
Yeah, you totally looked uncomfortable. That might be the nice way for you to say that,
All
but
right.
I think you just were not digging it, man. And I appreciate you having a lot of respect through those conversations, but I could totally tell you were not easy going with it. It was a challenge for you to bite your tongue. Like it was hard.
It was a little bit difficult, but again, is it something that I'm going to continue to be challenged with? Yes, I am. And I'm all right with that. We made a commitment to one another, and there are going to be times where I'm not going to be 100% in the comfort zone, and that's okay because that's what I committed to do.
Yeah. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, on another subject, I'll take it. Let's rock and roll.
Yes. No, that is a great segue into what I want to talk about today. Because, I mean, here's the thing. Anytime that you try something new, as an entrepreneur, like you get excited about this thing that you're going to solve or this problem or this issue. And you are coming to the marketplace as a disruptor and you're doing these new things and it's awesome and you're seeing some results or you're so passionate about it. It doesn't matter if you're making any money right away, even though you need that. But eventually it gets to this point where all right, I'm not the new guy on the block anymore. And the same stuff I was doing a year or two ago is not working and I'm just getting deflated, or man, do I need to change? Or man, you start seeing all the problems of the things that happen. The product maybe has a problem. Maybe the way that you actually did business was problematic. Maybe you grew so much, so fast that you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, there is a ton of destruction behind me. This isn't the way things are supposed to be, right? And I got to tell you, I think that you are feeling that right now where you're like, I mean, first of all, you've just been tremendously passionate about what you've been doing over the last couple of years. And I know that right now is a big challenge for you because you can't do the same things you were doing over the last couple of years.
So true. And that's what I'm finding. I'm finding that a lot of the things that were working really, really well for me, even 6 months or a year ago, have just stopped. Like those funnels have shut down. And as much as I wanted to ignore it, I'm like, oh, it's just a time in the market. It's just a phase. It's just, it's just for right now. I don't think so. And that's what I was challenged with today. It's like, hey, this is not temporary, James. This is a thing that if we don't adapt to it, it's going to steamroll us.
Yes. And
a little bit hard for me to admit that, but now that we're doing it live here, I'll admit it. It was sucking.
Well, I know I completely blindsided you with that, but I mean, I think that I want you to be authentic in this because, a lot of people like this all sounds great when you're listening to it, but if you're going through it, it's a challenge. It's really, really hard. And, I shared with you, like, dude, I've been there, man. Like I was there at that spot in my career, in my business, as I was continuing to grow, man, I was hitting a wall and another wall and another wall. And I'm like, how do I break through this wall, man? It's just a challenge. I had to change my perspective though. I really had to have somebody coming to me and saying, well, that's a great excuse. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you think you're the first one to ever come up with that excuse? And I think today was one of those conversations between you and me and Brent. It was really great to just get it out there because the elephant in the room, oftentimes we don't want to admit the truth of the story. We really don't want to take ownership of that, right? We believe the story that we're telling ourselves.
Yeah, and that's the story I was telling myself. This is just a lull, right? It's a market thing, and it has nothing to do with what I'm doing. You just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. However, I think what this was well needed, and it kind of jarred me out of that comfort zone and said, hey, it's not just a lull. So
yeah. All right, so let's just kind of dive deep into that a little bit more, right? So you've got to this place. Let's say as an entrepreneur, you've started to realize like that business isn't going as great as it had been in the past. Let's say that once again, like maybe one of your lead funnels is drying up. Maybe one of the tactics and the ways that you handled business is not really being as effective. I just want to talk about like how do you overcome that? How do you start to identify those areas that maybe you're weak in and you start start to move on, or you take another angle. And we had a conversation today, and how did that go for you? I mean, I know that you got identified it, but one of the things that I really appreciated what you did today was you took it all in and you wanted to answer right away. You wanted to say something so bad, but you didn't do it. You just kind of shut up because you knew that what you were about to say was probably not the most productive things to say.
Hey, it was more defensive than it was offensive, right? And I did not want to be in that. And 100%, I was right off the bat, I felt like I had to answer for everything that was coming up, because at the end of the day, it's all on me, right? This was my wheelhouse, and it was my wheelhouse that was being audited. And now it was like, okay, here's the problems we've identified. How do we, what do we do? What's the plan is what it was. You said, hey, what's our plan? And instantly I wanted to defend what I have been doing. I wanted to say, no, here's what I've been doing. I've been doing this, and I've been really diligent about this. But at the end of the day, that was not a plan. It was it was merely defending what I have been doing.
Yeah.
Can't do that. You've got to be a little more open-minded than that, because maybe there's a solution lurking in this conversation. And if you're not open-minded enough to accept it, you're going to miss it. And you're going to keep doing the same crap you're doing that's not getting you anywhere.
That's exactly right. I think that humility in the moment is worth 1,000-fold in the future, right?
Sure.
And a lot of us will take that, we won't have a humility. We'll actually sit down, we'll get defensive about it, right? And what defense does to you is it doesn't allow you to grow through the situation, right? When you cannot sit back, once again, like what you did, I thought that was so powerful. What you did is you took it all in, you took the notes, and you were still, as much as it was kind of painful to go through that moment, it was so helpful for you to just listen. I know that this is my mind is telling me something else, but I got to be open to this, right? And so many entrepreneurs don't do it. I shared a story with both of you and Brent about talking to another entrepreneur, and we really started to break down their business and like, okay, listen, why are you not having success in this area? Because you say that you're doing the work, right? Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. Once we started to go into the detail of the work, it was so apparent that the work wasn't actually helping them move forward. The work was the busyness that kept them going to the office every single day, but it didn't produce anything. And it doesn't matter if you do the work if it's not producing anything.
You got it. And that's exactly what right off the bat, like I said, I was going to try to defend what I had been doing. And since we're bearing James's soul today, let's go ahead and do this. Understand, for all you listening, because Josh was there, understand one of my peers was in this room, right? A person who has my position in another office. That was hard. I mean, that was hard, taking that all right on the chin and looking across and going, why am I getting all the heat here?
Yeah.
Why me, right? And it would have been real easy to go, oh yeah, well, what about you, other person in the room?
That's exactly
it would have been real easy to do that, but I knew, I've got little marks in my tongue from biting my tongue, but I realized that there was no way I was going to grow from pointing out somebody else's shortcomings.
Yes. Yep. No, it was so good. I mean, and honestly, that is the hardest part too, is right. We first of all, we'll go on defense, just like you said, but then secondly, we'll start to look around the room and pointing at other people and saying, well, yeah, but what about your faults? Or yeah, but what about your faults? And I know it was a hard conversation, but once again, when you admit as a leader that you want to grow, part of growing is in hard conversations. Part of growing is being stretched and also biting your tongue, like you said, because those are the moments that you can grow the most. When you sit back from it and go, you know what? I got disciplined today. Like, I didn't allow my emotions to take control of me today. How many times have we done that, right? And I will be the first one to admit, man, there were times where I put my foot in my mouth, numerous conversations because I was offended or I took defense about what somebody had said. And if I would have just shut up and allowed everybody to vent or everybody give me their opinions, not only would I have gotten better myself, but I would also have showed them the respect about, listen, I'm open to your ideas. I'm open to your suggestions, because here's the thing. If I'm going to take your criticism and if I'm going to take your advice, the way that this friendship's going to work is that eventually you're going to have to take my criticism and advice as well too, right?
Bingo.
And I think what you did is you earned respect in that room from that other person, because you're like, dude, time and time again, I'm going to take your advice. When I give some advice where I feel like it's very important, I think it's an opportunity for you to grow, I want you to be able to take it into.
Yeah, that is so true. And now understand, in the moment, that was not my thought process.
Right.
But I'm glad we've gotten there. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys this also. It could have gone really easily that it turned into just a roast, right? I mean, it could have just where every one of my shortcomings gets put on blast. As a leader, I've got to commend you. You did it with a lot of grace, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't come at me and go, "Hey James, why are you failing in this?" Right? It was, "Hey, how do we grow from where we're at right now?"
Right.
And just simply asking the question rather than assigning the blame. That was huge, right? That set the tone for the whole meeting. Mm-hmm. Had it gone the other way, I may not have been able to overcome that defensiveness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing was not about to like expose like all of these challenges that, you know, we're failing in, because I do believe, you made a comment earlier today in this podcast that I would like to just kind of address really quick, is the fact that it is not all on your shoulders. And you do know this. Now, are you a big part of it? Absolutely. Do you have an integral part of that part of the business? Oh, without a doubt. That is exactly why you were hired. However, it is not on all your shoulders. And that's exactly how I saw this conversation, is that collectively we are all on the same page, and we are all failing at this opportunity that is upon us. And if we do not correct the ship, if we don't right the ship here, we're going to be having a conversation in 3 or 4 months going, all right, dudes, how do we backpedal? How do we take the water out of the ship, man? How do we start filling the holes? Because right now, this is not good, right? And so this was a part of us playing offense, being proactive, and really self-addressing some things before they got out of control.
Hey, I'm gonna give you that 100%, and I'm gonna further that point. I've always said this. I've always said, because I've been in the customer service industry a long time, and I've always said that any problem in a company comes down to 3 things: people, process, product, right? And that's not revolutionary. I learned that a long time ago from somebody way smarter than me, but people, product, process. And if we looked at this, basically we were just doing an audit, right? Hey, do we have the right people in the jobs?
Yeah.
I think so, right? I think all the way around us in leadership, we have the right people. What is our product? Well, our product is our culture, our company, our business. We're on point there. We're offering plenty there. Process. Where was our process failing? And then we just broke it down from there. So it was a really good reset for me in getting to see that and getting to see the outside perspective, right? I'm so focused on what I'm doing in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I was maybe spinning my wheels in some of those places. So it highlighted that, like that other entrepreneur you were talking about. Hey, were you just getting bogged down in the work and you were busy, but were you actually doing something?
Yeah. Exactly.
Eye-opener.
Can I ask you, I really want your honest feedback on this, is do you believe that, through this, through many, many conversations, how I've been able to be vulnerable to leadership and to take on that, hey, constructive criticism, hey, where am I failing, you guys? What more can I do? What do I need to change? Do you believe that after all of those deposits, the conversation that we were able to have today was a little bit more secure and feeling safe because I had earned that trust with you and this other gentleman about having a harder conversation, knowing that so you knew where I was coming from. You knew my heart. You knew like that I wasn't out there to just ramrod and snowplow you over and call out all of these issues that I saw. But I built up that trust over many conversations and the ability for you to also critique me.
You bet. We've talked about that before. I am a firm believer. I cannot go on record in digital format here and say things like accountability is a two-way street,
right,
without letting someone hold me accountable. So you and I, we have built that, and I say you and I because it's us here talking, but you have, as a leader, as the CEO of this company, you have built that rapport to a point to where you say, hey, listen, if I'm never not holding up my end of the bargain, feel free to call me out. Mm-hmm. Flip side of that, if you're not holding up your end of the bargain, I'm going to call you out. And honestly, I didn't take it personally at all because I know we built that relationship.
Yeah.
And I know you come from a good place there, right? Yeah. It wasn't like you got me in a room with one of my peers so that you could just crush me and we weren't having a power struggle.
Right.
It was something that you identified in the company that needed improved on, and you said, here's a chance to improve it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I really wanted to know that authentically, because I think it's such a key thing, right? That as leaders, if we haven't built that trust with the people that we care most about, if we haven't really allowed them to be critiquing us and be vulnerable to them, it's really hard to point out their flaws, right? And I think a lot of leaders will do that. Unfortunately, they're so quick to judge other people. They're so quick to point out the things that they're failing at, that they forget that it's a two-way street. Like you said, you have to be willing to allow those that you care about most, those that you're pouring into, to be able to give you some of their advice or some of the things that they see, and be able to take it in. I know a handful of people that are very successful business people, and they do not take criticism very well. They do not do it. I mean, if somebody comes to them and gives them some advice, they just blow it off, man.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I'm like, those are opportunities to grow. Not only grow yourself. Now, let's just say that, 99% of the things that they were saying are just BS. But what about the 1%? What is the one thing that maybe you could take away from that? Or maybe, how about this? What if you took reaction to that completely different, and you accepted their criticism, right? Their criticism of what's going on, and you started to build that relationship, and now they felt valued, right? There's nothing quicker to devalue somebody is when you devalue their opinion and you just balk it off.
Yeah. So how many times do we confuse the term leader or manager with somebody who has it just all figured out?
Right.
And I think we do. We kind of put ourselves on that pedestal, like, hey, nobody needs to be telling me my business. I've ascended to this level because of how good I am at everything, right? And that is so not true. You are constantly growing. You're constantly molding yourself into more and more. If you're improving, you are. Right? Yeah. If the person that you are today would impress the person you were a year ago, then yeah, you're on the right track. But we never need to rest on that and go, hey, I have it all figured out. And a little small part of me goes, hey, what? Why me? Why me at this point?
Yep.
But now, in hindsight, and believe you me, whether we did this podcast 5 minutes after the meeting or not, we would have had this discussion.
Yes.
And I know you would have asked me, hey, how did you deal with that? What happened here? So it was good. I'm gonna recommend that if you are having these conversations with your people, you need to have follow-ups.
Yes.
And you need to say, hey, how was that? Just like this. This is really cathartic for me, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I was to say, we're actually having our follow-up conversation, and we're recording it, to be honest with you.
I love it.
It literally just happened moments before we came into here. But I thought it was so fresh on both of our minds that I was like, listen, this podcast, as we've said time and time again, it's not about telling you all of the things that are helping us become successful. It's also telling you about the hard things and the conversations that we have to have. That is the thing that I want to know. I mean, I just love that we can be vulnerable on these podcasts, because oftentimes you don't get that on these types of things. You don't get this on these types of platforms, right? You always go, you get those guys that it's like, hey, dude, man, I remember 10 years ago, I was doing this, and this, and then all of a sudden this one thing clicked, and now I made millions and da da da. No, dude. Like, we are in the weeds of it, having these hard conversations, but we're also moving forward. Sometimes it feels like we're taking 3 or 4 steps back. But, just even as what's happened this year, this, you and I have had some hard conversations this year already with me, and how I have started to kind of struggle a little bit on some areas. But I tell you what, man, it has made me take inventory. It has made me clean house. It has made me really, truly step up in areas that I was not facing, even though I thought I was doing a pretty good job. I just didn't have a handle on certain things. And I am a better person from it, man. Like, I am more fired up now. I am more determined in certain areas. And I feel good because I've actually been able to give some more clarity in my life. And I tell you, as a leader, man, if you are not having those opportunities, these hard conversations are all about growth, man. You better start having more of these conversations in your life if you want to grow.
Yeah. It's backing up something you said early on in that statement. It's not about something that happened to us, 10 years ago that really changed our lives. It's about the stuff that's happening every single day that's changing you for the better. The difference is whether you choose to grow from it or whether you choose to dwell on it and let it just keep you down. Yep. It's, is it happening to me? Is it happening for me? This is something that I feel like it happened for me and for the greater of the company. So again, just full disclosure, I'm not upset. I'm not, my feelings aren't hurt. Did I get punched in the gut? Absolutely. But do I choose to grow from it? Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's exactly right, man. So as we kind of wrap this up, it is truly like, I mean, how do you become have that humility through that process, right? How do you trust the people around you, right? And then of course, all this, how do you grow from it? Because if you're not growing from it, why was the conversation even important? Why did you even have that conversation if you're not willing to grow from it? Once again, we are constantly looking at how we can improve each other. How do we improve our companies? How do we improve our messages? How do we improve the lives of those that are around us or those that trust us with their careers, right? And you better be willing to go into the trenches to find those answers.
That is so true.
So, all right, guys, as always, we appreciate you guys being around. Listen, and I know I say this, but I'm going to continue to keep repeating it, man. Listen, we don't charge for this. We don't have sponsors on this. We haven't broken any of the podcasts down the middle and said, hey, listen, if you buy a product, da-da-da-da. No, we're not doing any of that stuff. Literally, the price of admission for this is that you just pass it on. I know that this message would resonate with either you or one of your friends. Somebody that you know is struggling with either taking hard criticism or they're struggling with actually having the conversation with somebody that they need to have. What are you doing to pass it along to them? What are you doing to put this in front of them and in their lives? If you are not doing that, you're doing them a complete disservice and you're not stepping up as the leader that you know you want to be. So I would implore you, pass this on to other people. Make sure that they see this, make sure that they hear this, because it is an important message. And I know a lot of leaders are not doing enough of this.
Yeah, it doesn't cost a thing. Press the share button.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, we always appreciate you guys. Definitely look forward to seeing you on the very next episode.